Welcome back everyone to the next video in the Mediocre Playthrough series where the only thing you get to watch are the boss fights cause everything else is just story. Uthduna. This is yet again a good example of the Monster Hunter team's creativity when it comes to monsters. He's very different from pretty much anything that's come before him. You can see a few hints at some previous monsters that have maybe inspired a couple aspects of him. Like, a little bit of it's reminiscent of Namiel, but just the way he works is so different. The fact that outer membrane just kind of seems to primarily absorb damage, and it's a little bit of a challenge to get it to actually go through and hit the main body. But I would say on this playthrough for this particular fight, since it's the first time I went up against him, it was a little bit easier than it will be in the future because you don't really have a choice but to have the NPC companions involved. So occasionally he was actually distracted, and you'll see he gets some pretty solid hits in on me. He reminds me a lot of a bit of a cross between like a sea lion and an elephant seal. There's what it was. It took me a moment to remember what I was thinking of. Just a few aspects of being like if you cross them with a crocodile. So you would expect him to be kind of snappy and clawy and whatnot, but really he's just about throwing that bulk around. And he does it in some pretty fantastic ways. Like, you would think it'd be pretty easy to dodge that really slow maneuver that he does that you saw near the beginning of the video, where he just hops up in the air and kind of floats along for a second. But he's covering so much area that if you're not going to block, you just have to kind of time the dodge on it. And I've not fought him enough yet to really know what the timing is on the dodge. It doesn't seem like he's going to be that big of a challenge. But again, he was hitting pretty hard, and he was actually doing a pretty good job, even at low rank. So I've got some pretty high hopes for how this fight will pan out later on. Of course, he's also one of the apex creatures. So I would say at the end of the day, the four or five? Whatever, however many of them. I would expect that they will end up being some of the tougher creatures in the game, like through whatever means need to happen. So I wasn't disappointed with him. Visually, it's really cool. He's really pretty while also still being kind of intimidating. And he has a couple of unique aspects to the fight that don't come off as gimmicky, that actually seem really fun. Honestly, at first I thought this was going to end up being a siege fight because of the NPCs and stuff involved. But it wasn't nearly that level of slow. The siege fights usually end up being kind of fun the first time or two you do them, but on repeat playthroughs, like say, the fights like Zorah Magdaros, they're really cool and flashy the first time around, but get boring kind of fast. And don't get me wrong, I'd love to see something like that come back. One of my favorite memories from Monster Hunter Tri was nailing down the Jin Baran fight to the point where it became really easy. But they don't hold up well over time. The problem with them is that once you've learned it, there's nothing else to change. There's nothing else to master or refine. They're so scripted that as long as you execute the script properly, you're good. You're going to end out getting just the best time you can possibly get. Sure, you can optimize gear a little bit and push up the times a little bit faster, but there's not a lot of improvement to be had, whereas with, say, most of the other monsters, you can fight them over and over and over again and slowly improve your time just by learning the fight a little bit better, or learning how to manipulate the fight a little bit better. But siege quests, not quite so much. No. And this is a good little reminder to not get greedy. Yeah, anytime you just decide, you know what, I'm not gonna heal, even though this fight, the monster seems to be hitting me pretty hard, usually doesn't pay out very well.
Are you okay? Where does it hurt? More supplies have been added. Thank God you're all right. Don't worry, you'll get 'em next time.
Still in one piece?
And right here, what's going to happen is it's going to jump cut just a little bit. Because as soon as you finish that fight, it jumps into a little bit of a cinematic. I'm not going to talk about what happens because it's actually pretty cool. But good fight, and I'll see you all in the next one. Remember, if I can beat it, so can you.